What happens when your closest allies start plotting behind your back and you don't even see it coming? That's exactly the nightmare unraveling for the United States right now. As Donald Trump doubled down on brutal new tariffs, confident America's allies would have no choice but to comply. One country made a shocking move that blindsided everyone. Italy chose Canada over America. While Washington was busy tightening economic screws, Ottawa was quietly building new lifelines, and Italy seized the chance. In a stunning diplomatic coup, Italy and Canada are now forging a powerful new alliance, bypassing U.S. influence altogether. Their deepening trade deals, energy cooperation, and security pacts have not only shocked the European Union, they have triggered panic signals inside American trade circles. Trump thought tariffs would bring countries to their knees. Instead, he just pushed two major powers into each other's arms. But how did this happen? Why did Italy side with Canada? And what does it mean for the future of U.S. global leadership? Well, the betrayal is deeper, and the consequences are bigger than anyone imagined. In this video, let's know about this in detail. When Donald Trump first launched his aggressive tariff war, few could have predicted just how deeply it would boomerang against American influence. Targeting even longtime allies like Canada with a brutal 25% tariff on imports, while simultaneously threatening Mexico, China, and others, Trump believed he was playing a strong hand. In reality, he set off a chain reaction of panic and quiet rebellion, not just among adversaries, but among friends. Canada, historically America's most reliable neighbor, suddenly found itself staring down the barrel of an economic disaster. For decades, the two economies had moved in lockstep. Natural resources, auto parts, agricultural goods, and even critical tech flowed seamlessly across the world's longest undefended border. But Trump's bombshell policies threatened to shatter that balance overnight. With the tariff deadline of March 4, 2025, Canada had no choice but to scramble for new lifelines fast. And in a move nobody saw coming, not even Brussels, it was Italy that stepped into the breach. Not as a casual trader, not as a distant partner, but as a nation, ready to rewrite Canada's economic future itself. As the United States doubled down on isolationism, Canada quietly plotted its escape, and Italy offered the map. The March 4th tariff deadline became Canada's national emergency behind closed doors. Ottawa officials scrambled to diversify their economic lifelines, knowing full well that their over-reliance on American markets could now become a fatal flaw. Initial talks with broader European partners bogged down in red tape and political grandstanding. Germany hesitated. France debated. Britain, embroiled in its own economic woes, could offer little. Italy, however, saw what others missed, and it moved with stunning speed. Thanks to the comprehensive economic and trade agreement, Italy already enjoys privileged access to Canadian markets. Italian exporters, from food producers to industrial manufacturers, seized the moment. While Washington was raising walls, Rome was building bridges. But Italy's ambition didn't stop at selling pasta and wine. It became clear very quickly that this was about more than exports. Italian and Canadian officials began hammering out deeper partnerships on clean energy technology, on cybersecurity for critical infrastructure, on rare mineral development needed for next-generation industries. What began as an emergency workaround to Trump's tariffs was morphing into something far bigger, a strategic realignment that would weaken America's economic grip on Canada and create an independent Canada-Europe economic artery. By early 2025, the results were already impossible to ignore. At grocery stores across Canada, Italian packaged foods, wines, olive oils, and cheeses were replacing American brands, not only surviving but thriving amid the new price chaos triggered by Trump's tariffs. For consumers facing skyrocketing costs on U.S. imports, Italian goods offered both quality and relative affordability. Before we continue further, tell us, are you enjoying the video? If yes, please like and share the video and subscribe to our channel to watch more videos on the latest news stories on geopolitics, economics, and current affairs impacting your lives. In the clean energy sector, Italy and Canada were drafting joint hydrogen, biofuel, and critical mineral initiatives, moving together toward a greener, less American-dominated future. Canadian officials welcomed Italian expertise not just because it was available, but because Italy, unlike the US under Trump, was offering partnerships without arrogance or ultimatums. Cybersecurity and defense cooperation also accelerated quietly but aggressively. NATO connections helped, but now Canada and Italy were collaborating bilaterally, launching joint cybersecurity training programs, countering foreign interference campaigns, and upgrading digital defense systems. Even in critical minerals, the resource battleground of the 21st century, Italy stepped up. It expressed aggressive interest in securing Canadian lithium, cobalt, and nickel, recognizing their centrality to the EV and semiconductor revolutions. Deals once assumed to be America's birthright were now being openly discussed with Rome instead. In sector after sector, Italian businesses were doing what US companies, tangled in tariff battles and political uncertainty, could not, providing a reliable strategic partnership. The transformation was undeniable. Italy was no longer just a convenient supplier. It was fast becoming Canada's strategic twin, a partner in everything from food security to green technology to national defense. The old assumption that Canada's economy was forever tethered to Washington was starting to die, and few in America, or even the European Union, fully understood how fast the ground was shifting beneath their feet. The catalyst behind Italy's meteoric rise in Canada wasn't just panic at Trump's tariffs. It was a calculated strategy, years in the making. In late 2024, as Washington turned inward and Brussels was still busy debating its next move, Italy and Canada moved swiftly and quietly. They signed what is now recognized as a historic pact, the Roadmap for Enhanced Cooperation. This wasn't a basic trade deal. It was a comprehensive agreement that mapped out a future where Italy and Canada would not just exchange goods, but share a global vision. It outlined joint initiatives that would touch every corner of the 21st century economy: clean energy production, aggressive carbon reduction, African development aid partnerships, cybersecurity standards against rising global threats, joint AI threat monitoring programs, defense industry collaborations, and the expansion of infrastructure, both physical and digital. Through this roadmap, Italy was no longer just another European nation exporting wine and pasta. It was positioning itself as Canada's mirror, a partner equally ambitious about green energy, digital security, sustainable global development, and defending democratic rule of law in an increasingly unstable world. The European Union, for its part, had been caught completely flat-footed. Brussels had expected Italy to coordinate all trade moves through the EU's collective policy machine. Instead, Italy, sensing a rare opening, prioritized its direct relationship with Canada, willing to break ranks if it meant securing its own future. Meanwhile, Washington, confident that Canada could never realistically shift its loyalties, was too busy celebrating tariffs to notice the ground crumbling beneath them. They believed Canada had no alternative. They were wrong. The deeper Italy and Canada worked together, the more obvious it became that their new relationship was about far more than just sidestepping Trump's tariffs. It was about rewriting the future itself. In energy, both nations made massive commitments. They pledged to phase out coal-fired energy production entirely by the early 2030s, aiming to lead global efforts to meet climate targets. They formalized joint initiatives on securing critical minerals, such as lithium and cobalt, the very lifeblood of the electric vehicle and semiconductor industries. These were resources the United States had long assumed would always flow into its own supply chains. Now, Italy and Canada were locking them down together. One of the biggest breakthroughs came in hydrogen energy, where Canada and Italy began collaborating on next-generation fuel systems that could ultimately replace gasoline and diesel worldwide. Meanwhile, Italy's growing influence in Canada's food and clean technology sectors was rewriting traditional market maps. Defense cooperation intensified alongside economic ties. Italy and Canada didn't just agree to better coordinate under NATO. They created joint cybersecurity task forces aimed at defending both nations' critical infrastructure. They initiated shared protocols for rapid response to AI-driven cyber attacks, a move that few countries outside the US even dared to attempt. And most symbolically, they extended their partnership beyond themselves, jointly funding infrastructure and development projects in Africa, especially in West Africa, where they aim to offer a counterbalance to growing Chinese and Russian influence. By early 2025, it was undeniable. Italy and Canada were operating like old Cold War allies, sharing intelligence, coordinating technology, and framing a new vision of international leadership without waiting for Washington's permission. The European Union, once dreaming of a united front against Trump's aggression, was jolted awake when news of Italy's deepening ties with Canada spread through Brussels. Officials privately admitted that Italy's breakaway strategy could weaken European leverage. How could Europe negotiate effectively against US tariffs if one of its own biggest economies was already carving out an escape hatch? Meanwhile, the real blind spot remained in Washington. Trump's administration, obsessed with winning the tariff battle, failed to recognize that the US wasn't just losing dollars, it was losing trust. By the time the tariff deadlines hit full force, Italy and Canada had already built a near-complete alternative trading system that excluded US dominance. What once seemed impossible had now become reality. Canada, America's most loyal economic partner for over a century, was now partnering first with Italy in critical sectors like energy, defense, and cybersecurity. The betrayal wasn't symbolic anymore. It was material, it was strategic, it was irreversible. And Trump? He didn't see it coming until it was far too late. Do you think Italy made the right move by siding with Canada over the US? Do you feel this could be the beginning of more allies abandoning the US for other trade partners? In the comment section below, share your thoughts on the fact that if America's closest friends are making secret alliances, is this a sign that the US is losing global trust? Do you want to watch more videos like this one? If yes, subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon next to it. We bring the latest news stories on geopolitics, economics, changing world order, and current affairs. Things you need to stay informed. Thanks for watching, and until the next video, stay tuned.